Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. I'm your host Laurie Brooke, and together we will get to take a look at what goes on behind closed doors. Today I am joined by Andrew and Kate-Lynn Holmes.
Hi, my name is Andrew Holmes.
And I'm Kate-Lynn Holmes, and we've been married for 7 years, and we are here to talk about our marriage.
Andrew and Kate-Lynn Holmes have been married for 7 years, parents for 6, and for the last 2 years the owners of Love Over, a brand dedicated to seeing the world turn to the life-saving power of love through community messaging, apparel and action. These two professional communicators have found that the greatest challenge of all is marital communication. Yet, by leading with love, they've seen their home and their business flourish. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Relationships Talk, where together we get to take a look at what happens in people's relationships. Hi everyone, my name is Laurie, and this week I am joined by Andrew and Kate-Lynn Holmes. So was it 7 years? I thought Andrew said 8 years before.
I said, you can't trust me. I did say 8. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, this is great. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today, both of you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.
Can I say, before we kick off and talk about your relationship, which is what we are here to talk about, I do want to share, though, that these two amazing people have such a powerful message that they're helping to spread across the world. And if I can say at this point, love over it, I'm all for it. There is a quote, Andrew, and I will get back to your relationship in a minute, but there's a quote in one of your videos, and I really wanted to share it today. You said, it's important, and you're talking to your children in this video, but you say it's important that they learn to get value from how they feel, who they are, the Bible, and how you treat others. And
Yes.
that's where the value of, I suppose, humankind really needs to come from.
1,000%.
Let me ask you, how did you two first meet?
So Andrew and I have actually known each other for a very long time. He was good friends with my older sister, and I was good friends with his younger sister. And it's funny because me and his younger sister were really good friends, and we always used to joke about being matchmakers and getting our brother and sister to date so that her and I could be sisters. And we ended up being sisters, but not the way we expected.
Oh, wow.
So
What a cute story.
Yeah, we actually, it was much later when we began dating. We just had mutual friends, and Andrew had started college, and just out and about, we started talking, and he convinced me to take a business course at a community college in our city. And he was a second year and I was a first year in our first year of our relationship, and just took off from there.
It's all history from there.
All history. That was about, I guess, 11 years ago we started dating.
Yeah.
Right? And married for 7. So yeah, a long time ago.
And you've got 2 children?
We do. Mason and Malia. So Mason will be 4 next week, and Malia will be 7 in January.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful ages.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun.
Yes.
Generally when they're not
very
with
busy.
The parents.
Yeah.
A lot nicer for other people than they are for us, but that's a whole other topic.
Absolutely.
Yes,
so
absolutely. We could talk about that for a while too.
How would you two describe your relationship?
Progressing? Is that a good word?
Yes. Always learning, always changing.
Actually, so we emceed a wedding this summer. I've emceed a wedding before, but we emceed together for 2 of our really good friends from high school. And I gave them some advice, like as you would. And the advice I said to them was to always remain curious about their partner, because about each other, because that's what I found is once I turned, like, there was a time, and during our marriage, I'm not sure when it was, but I was like, you know what, we are different, and I'm constantly learning more about her, and the more I learn about her, the more in love I get with her. So it's just this curiosity of like constantly learning more about you and how we work and those types of things, that like that's really what the basis of it is for me, really.
Yeah, we definitely as soon as you think you have it figured out, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something new to learn, and thankfully we both enjoy learning.
Yes.
And we're very dedicated to understanding each other. And yeah, I'd say that's how our relationship works.
Did you come into your relationship thinking that you knew each other because you had that history of growing up together somewhat?
No. I Oh my goodness. I think no, I don't think so.
No, I actually yeah, I feel like I had a totally different perception of who you were as a person before we actually started becoming involved with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was shallow. Like I was like, man, she's really cute. And then you got to like be really cool and cute. And then it just like got better and better from there. So
I suppose that's the wisdom of time, though, isn't it?
oh, isn't it though?
Mm.
It's just trying to pass it on to the kids, but I guess my parents tried that too, but it's just a lesson learned, isn't it?
Yeah, you live and learn.
Yeah.
So, do you two remember your first fight?
Our first fight.
I don't think I remember our first fight, but I remember the way we used to fight in the
Ooh, that's
beginning.
good. And we
Yeah.
used to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't fight like we used to. That's been a learning curve as well. But I do remember the way we used to fight early on.
Yeah, like okay, so we used to fight like often in our younger years. 'Cause we were like early 20s when we first started dating, and we would fight often. That was just a pattern we would go through. And it could be about anything. I don't even know what it would be about now because it was so long ago, but it could be about anything. And then it seems so regular. And then after a period of time, I recognized, wow, I'm doing this fighting thing a lot, and I recognized the pattern in myself because I'd done the same thing with like ex-girlfriends. I would fight just constantly. And I'm like, man, I'm pushing people away. And then early on in our relationship, I ended up taking anger management courses and like really fixing that in myself. And that was really one of the main tipping points of kind of evolving us to the next level of making it like a real relationship. And my gosh, our fights are so infrequent now. Like it's
Yeah, and it's cool and all the focus on like the flaws that you had in our fights earlier on.
yeah.
But I don't know the type of fighter I was back then. I feel like I've always been one to just walk away from a fight.
Yeah. I was just like a screamer and like
Yeah.
the temper would just rise and
Like
stuff.
he'd want to figure it out in the moment. Like he'd be like, we're not going anywhere. We're just going to keep going. And for me, when things get heated, I'm just like, nothing's getting accomplished. I'm walking over there and this, like, it'll get figured out later.
Yeah.
I used to leave a lot.
Like, where are you going?
I used to get in my
Don't
car
leave.
and just leave. I'd be like, okay,
This
this
guy's
is it.
nuts.
Yeah.
Did you recognize any of those patterns in your children now? Or do you think that they've seen the way that you now communicate with each other, and that's the behavior that they're modeling?
Yes. I would say they absolutely model our behavior now. I would say like we talk like we say I love you a lot, and like we're grateful for things, and I hear that from my kids, and I hear other parents say, wow, your kids are very grateful and very affectionate and things like that. And that's because we're just trying to have the most loving home we possibly can. And we're intentional with it too. Like we just got done reading a book called Raising Good Humans, just talking about breaking generational cycles and just creating a loving, supporting, understanding home. So I'll have to say, yeah, I think I see it. I see positive engagement with our kids.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't see, and maybe it's because they're still young, but I don't see the like the behaviors that we had as younger people. We lived a very different life back then too. Like we partied a lot in our younger 20s, and we were completely different people than we are now. And it's very interesting for us to raise kids or raise our kids the way we are now, because it's so new to Andrew and I. Like, Andrew and I grew up both with around parents who partied, and that's just kind of the lifestyle we both grew up in, and we don't do that in front of our kids. So, and our kids go to church regularly. Like, they have a church family. They're raised in it. They're there sometimes multiple days a week, but definitely every Sunday. And it's so beautiful to watch them, like, just pray at supper and pray before bed, because we didn't experience that as ourselves as children. So we get really excited when we see them in their childlike faith, I guess.
That's beautiful. Andrew, how would you describe Kate-Lynn?
Kate-Lynn is well, first of all, if anyone's familiar with the Enneagram, I'll just start there. So her personality type as an Enneagram is an Enneagram 1, which means that she likes things to be just so. She's a very strong sense of what's right and what's wrong. And she operates what's right and what's wrong to her. So she kind of like what she craves is like vulnerability and authenticity, and things that are like not real, she very much shies away from. So she is someone that loves to like see things through. Like, if you give her a project or a puzzle, oh my gosh, I just dropped a puzzle on the coffee table like last Sunday. It is like 1,000-piece puzzle, and it was done by Tuesday. And I was like, because she was just obsessed with it. So she just loves seeing things through to the end. But yeah, that is definitely who she is. And she's the other thing about her too, I guess, is she's a good, trusted friend. Like, her friends that she has and she's had for a long time stay very close to her because they know they can get like true, honest advice from her. Friends don't always like her advice, but it's it's going to be wise and guiding.
Or if people don't want the truth, they tend to avoid.
She gets avoided very, very much because they're like, I'm not dealing with her. She's a reflection of the truth, and I'm just not dealing with that, which is tough for me because I lied a lot in the beginning of our relationship.
You, Kate-Lynn, how would you describe Andrew?
We're so much the same when we think about personalities. Like, my first instinct is also to refer to the Enneagram, and he is a 3. He's very much a visionary and like an achiever and hard worker, and just thrives on succeeding and being valued. And he's very valuable. Like, he's made quite a brand for himself in our city. He's very well respected and has really great ideas and moves at a very fast pace,
right,
which is kind of where, like, it's so funny. I don't know if you know anything about the Enneagram, but you can look up like their fears, like a basic fear, a basic need and desire. You can look at how you compare with each other. And we have read like Enneagram 1 and an Enneagram 3 in a relationship. And it's like reading our highs and lows.
It's like a playbook.
Like, it's like you're reading a script of one of our fights. Yeah. It's, he likes to move. He has ideas. He likes to move fast and just like get it done, even if that means you have to cut corners sometimes, where I'm very much like, I need to look at every detail. We're going to succeed and do it right the first time instead of, taking risks or potential failure and get back on the horse and keep going. Like, that's not for me. So he wants to go fast. I tend to pull him back and slow him down. And sometimes that can cause friction, but there are very good ways that we can also work together with those skills.
And was that, I suppose, did that really come through when you started Love Over It? Because that happened quite quickly, from my understanding.
My
Oh
gosh.
boy.
Yes. Like, oh my gosh. I don't know when we started applying the Enneagram, but we went to, I think we started learning about another personality profile, the DISC profile. We went to marriage counseling like 4 or 5 years ago, and that's when they introduced that. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, we're saying the same thing. We're just talking in our own language. We're not really listening to each other." But when Love Over it started, that happened so quickly. That brand developed so quickly because it was in a response to a world event. It wasn't like something we had planned to do, so we had to move quickly because we're like, people want this. Man, I was like flying, and she's like, "You need to slow down." And I was like, "I can't. This is happening now." And like, we learned a lot about each other in that time, and now running the brand together, running the house together. My gosh, we learned so much about each other, and the brand has brought us close together because we're like, this is how each other likes to work, and it's been great that way. But yeah, we did learn a lot in the beginning of that.
A lot of trial and error for that, for sure.
And so was it the counseling that prompted you to do the Enneagram work?
I think so.
No, I learned about Enneagram through church.
Was it?
Actually? And yes. It seems to be a popular Christian, it's not even really a personality
Right.
profile. It's more of like what motivates you as a person. Anyways, I learned about it through that, and I've as I do, I've became a bit obsessive about it. I feel like I could look at a person and know what number they are between 1 and 9.
But we became like interested in when we went to the marriage counseling, and he was talking about that personality profile, and he exposed to each of us were and how we were, a kind of opposite ends of the pie kind of thing. We were both, it just opened up this like whole, wow, this is huge. And then we were like, okay, we need to attach ourselves to these personality profiles a bit, understand them so we can better understand each other. And then it's been a game changer for us because I can literally put my, like, a lot slower, takes some time sometimes. I can stop myself and think, here's how I would do it, and think, okay, she doesn't think like me. How does she think? And then it's boom. Once we get to that part, we start problem solving and stop like probleming each other really.
Well, the thing too with the Enneagram is it really, when it calls out your desires and your fears, like you feel seen. Like it
Right.
really shows you where your strengths and weaknesses are. So you really start to understand yourself first. Like when I remember feeling sad when I first seen mine. When I recognized that I was a 1, I started reading this, my basic desires, and I'm like, "Oh, this is me." And then I started seeing the fears, and I was like, "Oh, this is me." Like kind of feeling, "Uh-oh." And but then as I started recognizing that, I was able to, like, there's good things about those fears too that you can use in situations, instead of, there's unhealthy ways to use it and healthy ways to use it. So once you can start to identify and understand those things about yourself, and then also understand them about your partner, you can really use it to your advantage.
So what has been a really memorable moment in your relationship?
Oh my goodness. Like there's obviously so many.
Yeah. Like the obvious ones, like our wedding,
Yeah, I
our
know.
babies,
Yeah, I know.
our trips.
You know what was here's a really, really like defining moment. A defining moment in my life. And like a defining moment of like, wow, this is a very real relationship. I already talked to some of this stuff, but there was a very early on in a relationship. I was like, I was in this a cycle of like, um, very about myself. So I had a lot of bad like behavior, bad patterns that I would go about. So like the whole like anger thing, but also like this lying thing that I would do. I would also lie to protect myself. I didn't understand vulnerability back then. And I remember being caught in a lie very early on, and a decent lie, a lie that could like should have like broken us up. And it's like she exposed that she knew the truth, and I was lying about it. And that was my go-to move back then. I was like, I'm just gonna lie, I'm gonna lie, I'm gonna lie, and then I'm just gonna like let it go away. Time will pass, and then it'll all be good, or she'll just break up with me. And I was like okay with that too, because it's like better to like protect the lie kind of thing. And I remember her just like basically begging me to like just to admit it. I remember I admitted the lie, and she like quickly forgave me, and she's like, no, I'm so thankful that you were truthful. Again, we've come to learn in the last 2 years that being truthful is very important to her as an Enneagram 1. But she was so thankful that I was being truthful, and I was so caught off guard. I was like, you're not mad at me? You're more happy that I told you the truth than you are mad at me for what I did to you? This is confusing, but it rocked my world. Like, it changed my whole perspective on people and her, and I was like, there's more to this life than this lying thing. And anyway, that really like set us on a track to where we end up getting married and everything, because our relationship was built on truth from that point. Like, yes, I continue to lie with certain things as time went on. I don't lie no more, that's for sure. But like, I kind of went back and forth on that a little bit, but I regretted it very quickly. But man, once I understood the power of that, that was a turning point for us.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think stopped you completely from lying?
I was terrified to expose the mistake I made. I was terrified of that shame. And then, like, I was gross. I was just like, that's not even real. I'm just gonna like lie. I'm just gonna bury that, because no, I don't even want to know that it happened, because it was a mistake I would have made when I was drinking or something like that. I'm not even gonna talk about it. We're not going there. And when I finally brought it to the surface, and she welcomed it, and she like made it like a soft, like, I'm not gonna punish you for it, and I was like, I'm gonna help you through it. I was like, this is far less pain. In fact, it's actually more comforting to be honest with it and not have to struggle with it myself anymore. I can heal through it together. And that's what love and life is all about, is doing things together. That's, that kind of thing. I don't need to do this anymore. I don't need to be ashamed of the mistakes I make. And since that day, I'm going to keep making mistakes. Mistakes have been plenty, but I no longer feel shame of them. And I no longer feel alone with them, because I can come to her and know that I'm not going to be guilted for it. So there's no point in lying anymore.
Yes, there are so many times I can think of early in our relationship.
Okay, just don't list them all.
No, that I said, the truth will set you free. Like, I'm like, I know you think it's more comfortable to hide it, but once you speak it out, it doesn't control you anymore. Like, it's out there. Nobody can hurt you with this secret, because there's no secret. And if you share it, then there's nothing to hold over you, or there's nothing to, feel anxiety about inside of, oh my gosh, is it going to come out? Or is somebody going to find out? Or is somebody like going to use this against me? Like, it's just, it becomes powerless as soon as you decide to speak it.
Now, if I sense something like that, I've made a poor judgment call and I've lied about something, like, it could be something small. I can't even think of any examples, but something really small. I feel like guilt come up inside of me. I'm like, I'm not living with that inside of me. I'm getting rid of that right away.
Well, I've often said too that lying can be kind of thrilling or like addicting.
Yes.
But honesty can be very addicting too.
Yes.
Because when you do it, you see how freeing and good it feels, that you're just like, I just want to be honest all the time. And then sometimes you may overshare. So
yes,
that happens too.
But do you think that honesty has created a vulnerability and a rawness in your relationship that's actually helped it to grow stronger?
Yes.
100%.
Without a doubt. We wouldn't, like, if I would have, not just me, I mean, I'm sure, well, I guess no, there's probably been some times, I'm sure, even though honesty is your virtue, or your, I'm sure there's times where you haven't been completely honest or whatever, but but anyway, if that was the norm, and it was a constant cycle where I was like, oh, here we go again, we didn't break that cycle, doomed. Or we would have been doomed in two ways. Either our relationship would have failed, or it wouldn't have failed, and we would have just been living in this hell of what is real. We're just lying all the time.
Yeah. So can I ask, what is something that you two will always talk about?
Jesus. Well, yeah, Mason. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything we won't talk about, honestly.
Yeah, we
like
talk about-
I feel like I mean, obviously he's my husband, but I know every intimate detail about his life. I feel very confident about that.
And do you have a place or a time when you have these chats?
No, we're pretty on the fly. Like I think we're extremely good communicators. Like we pride ourselves in like our communication with each other in our jobs. Like we love communication, and we often like trip over ourselves through communication, and we're like, how do other people do it when we spend so much time investing in learning how to communicate? So I'd say we're pretty open, but one thing that we have learned just through like relationship books and courses that we've done is we did one through our church about scheduling a fight, like having a fair fight. And like instead of catching each other off guard or like letting a conversation wander somewhere, if things start to get like heated, or we're like, yeah, let me cool down and think about this, or let me figure out exactly how I'm feeling, we'd be like, yeah, can't talk about this right now, but we should talk about this tomorrow night after the kids go to bed.
Yeah, like a big thing for me. So one thing it took us a long time to figure out, it was always a fight, was the end of the day, it'd be 10 o'clock, and she's offloading her mind. So she's like thinking about the next day or problems she had. We haven't really had a chance to talk yet that day or whatever. 10 o'clock hits, we're laying in bed. She's just like ripping off all these ideas. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like my mind's shutting down. Her mind's ramping up. And I'm like getting anxiety. I'm thinking about, this isn't time for that. I want to watch TV. Like, get out of here. So we would do this. And then like I couldn't figure out why it was bothering her or bothering me and not bothering. We couldn't figure it out. It just constantly was this thing. And then I'm finally like, no, like we talked about it. Oh, okay, this bothers you and not me. And I said, I one day I said I pulled up my phone. I wrote it up. I said, I said, we will not have serious conversations in bed past 10 p.m. I made her sign up my phone, and we saw kind of like a funny little joke, and it's worked because she might have an idea. She's like, she'll just remember it, and then she'll just like, hey, I have something I want to talk to you about, and we'll talk about it in the morning or whatever. And the same thing goes for her. Like I can't just like, because I'm so quick. I was gonna do it today. I called her at lunch. I had a laundry list of things I wanted to do for Love Over, and I was gonna like just rip them off. But like she can't do that. She needs to have a time and place where we can like dedicate it to spending on that thing. Where I'm just like, let's quickly talk about it, give me answers, and move around. So yes, we do a very good job now of scheduling, or like not scheduling, just being respectful of each other's boundary when it comes to, conversation.
Yeah. And reminding each other of it too. Like I actually specifically remember one night laying in bed where I'm ready to talk about anything, but
Yeah.
he actually rolled over and was like, and started talking, and I said, like, excuse me, don't you have a boundary that we don't talk about this stuff after 10 p.m.? He's like, yeah, touche.
Okay, well, I think this is a great time then to play a little game with you. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to tell me who is more likely to be out of the two of you. So who is more likely to start a fight or get upset first?
Ooh, that's I feel like that's a trick question. Because I'm more likely to get upset first. You're more likely to start the fight first.
Done. Yeah, I agree.
Who is more likely to apologize first?
Andrew.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Who is more affectionate?
Me.
Who is more likely to remember important dates in your relationship?
Me.
Buddy, I don't know.
He has no idea what we're doing tomorrow.
I have tattoos my kids' birthdays. I have to refer to them often.
You can't forget that then, can you?
I only have 2 kids.
Is Kate-Lynn's birthday on there too?
It should be. It needs to be, because I can never remember if it's 91 or 92.
Sweating right now. Don't ask him my birthday.
Who said said hello first?
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes. Well, you
You?
technically did, but I threw the lob out there. And
He told he gave my number to somebody to give to me. So I had his number and then I texted him first.
So
Who is the most forgetful?
Andrew.
But who picks better movies?
so
Me.
no, you don't. You think you do, man. I remember you put on some movie like a month ago, and it was like some what was it? It was like
The deep end of the
yeah,
ocean?
a kid gets kidnapped, and it was like Sunday night at 9:30. I'm like, why would you put this on? Now I can't go to sleep because I got to find out if they find this kid. I'm like, this is terrible.
I love 90s movies.
Yeah, well,
Michelle Pfeiffer, I think.
I'm gonna stick to Marvel. Thanks.
Yeah. I like Marvel too.
I know.
I'm more seasoned.
Yeah.
More variety.
You just like to be hurt when you watch your movies.
I don't watch horror movies.
That's true.
I like happy movies.
Yeah.
They've always got a happy ending.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Feels.
Except that Luckiest Girl in the World movie, too much hurt for me.
That was a good one. She told her story.
Yeah,
she spoke her truth.
Yes, I know she did, but just put on Marvel.
Who has the most speeding tickets?
Me.
There's so many.
I had 2.
So many.
But I cried hard because I don't like to mess up.
That is, yeah.
I was very convicted.
That did hurt you. You've been very hurt. But yeah, because you don't like the, yeah.
Who is the funniest?
Me.
That's not true either.
Yes,
That's not. You think so?
I'm very funny.
You are pretty funny
all the time.
I'm more of like
you think
this. I'm pretty funny, man. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I'm like this. Like I'm a consistent. You're like you spike, and when you're on one, you are on one.
Who's the most annoying?
Andrew.
I'm probably me.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know how, but
you lack a bit of self-awareness.
Do you think?
In some situations when you're being annoying.
I feel
like I can read a room like, ooh, I'm being annoying. And I take a step back where you just you don't get that notification to your brain.
Let's dive into that at a later time. Not tonight, obviously.
Thank you so much. We're going to leave that game there before we dive down a rabbit hole we don't want to end up in. Can I ask you, what do you do though to make each other feel good?
So, another learning tool. My love language is quality time. Andrew's is, there's probably a couple, but words of affirmation. Yeah.
And acts of service probably in there somewhere.
Yeah. So it's very important for me to have his undivided attention. Doesn't mean there and
stare at her.
Doesn't mean it has to be a long time, and it doesn't mean it has to be often. It's just when I have him, I just need him all. I need his presence. And it's very difficult because I don't care about being affirmed or needing a thank you and he doesn't care about quality time really. So it's difficult for him to understand the type of quality time I need. And it's very difficult for me to remember to be like, thank you for doing the dishes or something like that, because I'm just like, I'm not searching for that. So I don't think to give it often.
Right.
But I know it's important to him.
Same.
It's one of those struggles when you've got two very different personalities like that, to be mindful of making sure that you're filling up the other person's bucket, but at the same time that they're filling yours.
Yes.
It is. It really, really, really is. I often wonder what people with the same love language operate like. Especially
you said that recently.
Especially if both your love languages are physical touch. Are they just on top of each other at all times? I just
yeah.
just
Mason?
Yeah, our son, his love language is absolutely physical touch. He can't not touch one of us.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
It's hilarious.
The future will
But yes,
tell
it's a
you.
lot. Yes, it will.
I want to circle back quickly to something that you said before, and it was about communication. And you said that you both you communicate a lot, and you feel like you've gotten a lot better at that. But how do you make sure when you are communicating that you're actually hearing the message that the other person's delivering as opposed to what you're receiving? Does that make sense?
Yes. Active listening,
Mhm.
right? So I think we have a benefit of like both of our jobs, like because we went to both went to business school, and then we marketing, and I'm in sales and marketing, or a marketing agency, and she's a client customer experience manager. So both of our jobs are very much around communication. So we've had professional um, education around how to get training. Thank you. Around how to pull out the truth, not the truth, but like what's actually being said, and help make the other person feel heard. So, when I say active listening, I'm like, trying to shut off, because that's a lot of what people end up doing is they're thinking about their rebuttal to the point rather than listening to the point. And it ends up being like no one's actually communicating because we're just kind of like it's this internal conversation with each other, not actually communicating. So what I try to do is if she's speaking, especially about something serious or something that's really important to her, I try to just remove what I'm trying to say, listen to her, repeat back to her, like, this is what you mean, tell me more. Wow, that would be really hard. We're getting better at like not shooting for solutions to problems, just letting each other feel heard, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's a habit we've really grown, and I would say we feel heard in our conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been a very big fan of like behaviors and psychology and like what makes people tick and like act or do or say things that they do, and like getting deeper to the root of it all. So, I really enjoy like hearing people and trying to understand where they're coming from. Um, and we are constantly having like deep conversations like that to really like outside of our relationship too. It's just a common thing for us to really understand people, and understand that everyone's just trying their best and has really good intentions. Like some of my favorite movies are the movies that are about villains with their backstory that
Yeah.
shows what they went through to cause them to become the malicious or the like evil or the monster that they are. Like one of my favorites is the Joker, when everybody just knows like the Joker from Batman is like this evil person, and it like the movie about him just really shows how like this innocent boy that went through what he did and what pushed him to insanity, and it really just paints that picture of understanding.
Same with Maleficent.
Yes, or Cruella.
Yeah.
Like I love those movies.
Your relationship changed with your mission of love over it?
You know what? I feel like you're probably going to expect like a rainbows and butterflies answers to that specific question, but I find it's challenged us. Like we very much believe in the mission, but even that's evolved. Like we 100,000% believe in loving over it, but love people, like, love is a complicated topic. Like, there are so many definitions of love. There are so many different relationships that involve different kinds of love. And your perception of love is different than mine. And even just showing people kindness can be so misconstrued. And I think we're really big believers in, like, with our faith, like, we've heard time and time again, like, we've had a very hard couple of years, probably not far off from the time that Love Over It started. And we've heard multiple times, like, if you're under attack, you're on the right track. And we have faced some turbulence, and we've had it.
Not with us.
No.
Like outside forces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, we've had our struggles.
Yeah,
too.
that's fair. Yeah.
But it's allowed us to reflect back on it and remember it. It's allowed us to kind of, again, understand a whole other layer to what the brand really is. And we've learned how to apply love to so many new situations that could have destroyed the brand. We could have thrown in the towel. But we've really like went to battle and really just learned more about love.
Yeah.
And how to apply it.
Yeah, we've just like absolutely planted ourselves in it. That's the whole idea behind it, right? Is like the life-saving power of love. Like, love is the answer. Like, that is a cool catchphrase, but when you actually peel it back, like, what is love, right? Like, it's joy, it's peace, it's kindness, it's gentleness, it's faithfulness, it's self-control. It's these things that when you decide to do those things in any situation, you're finding life, like you're finding you're going to get benefit. And it's so much more than just like a mantra. It's so much more than just like a playbook. It's just like, it's like the more you do those things, the more your being changes. You become more like love, like as if love was a person, like this perfect, spotless, great person. The more you do those things, peace, kindness, joy, all those things, the more you act in that, the more you're coming like this example of a spotless person. And the more that I've tried to embody that for myself to represent this brand, just the better my life has become. I always say the first law of love is patience, and there's been some very trying situations that we've come up against, like, oh my gosh, death and addictions and broken boundaries and all kinds of things that we've come up against. But staying in the form of patience, right? Staying in that promise of patience, that if I stay in the waiting and not try to control a situation, and as long as I stay kind in that patience, then I will see good things happen, and I will remain calm, and my heart will remain pure along the way, and it has not failed. So that's why we believe in the brand so strongly, is because we want people to understand that we're all conditioned to like overreact and act out of anger and judge quickly, and we're all conditioned that way. That's just what media or culture or whatever, or generational cycles have shown us. But there's another way. It's a path less chosen. It's a very narrow gate, but by choosing it, and I'm telling you, I've done it. It absolutely is life changing. So, yeah.
Love is very humbling too. Like, I find we live in a very self-involved culture. I think that's pretty obvious. Like, it's all about do you, and stay true to you, and with like cancel culture, like if people don't like something, then that's not how it is. And love is discipline. Like, just because you perceive something, like this person perceives something as love and I'm not doing it, doesn't mean I'm not loving. You know, back to everybody's different perceptions. Like, that's not love. Love doesn't change. Love is constant and consistent, and it doesn't change to each person. Each person has to change to it.
That's it. And accept it.
Yeah.
Has your message changed to your children?
No, it's just gotten stronger, much stronger.
It's for them. I mean, it's for everyone, but it started for them. And, you know, there's been times where I'm like, this is the thing, right? We wear the shirt, and we are the brand. Let's just say it like that,
Yep.
right? So because I speak, or we openly speak about, here's how you should like live. Like, here are like some suggestions. Now people are like, okay, now I'm going to look for holes in your suggestions because I'm going to hold you to this standard that you're speaking of. Well, guess what? I'm not love, right? I'm not it. I'm saying that our pursuit of it is what's going to heal us and make us be better people to each other. I'm going to have flaws, and there's going to be problems in my life, but that's why we have love, so we can return back to it. Love will forgive me, and loves to, you know, the people around me will forgive me because they're acting loving, and it can build me back up. So we come under attack because of it. But I've often thought, you know, because of that, because of the challenge that comes with this brand, I've thought, man, I should just give it up. It's not worth it. I'm not, you know, whatever. It takes a lot of time. I'm not getting rich off it. Like, what is it really benefiting me? But I see that my kids are exposed to this brand. It's all over our house. They hear me talking about it. They'll see that, you know, they'll be, and then someday when they're mature enough, they will look back on all that I'm putting out there. And if nobody, like, I always say, if we can influence one person, then it's worth it. And I get messages all the time like, oh my gosh, your message really helped me and supported me. That's great. But ultimately, you know, I'm responsible for this house, and this is what I want to influence the most. And if someday, you know, my Malia, when she's going through all of her troubles, when she gets into her 20s, like we all do, and she feels like, you know, lost something, and she stumbles across a message that I put out, you know, hopefully she's inspired by that. Hopefully she can trust to come to me, like that kind of thing. So it very much is for them, so that one day when they are ready to hear it, they know, oh, my dad tried to live this out, and I can approach him with it. And there's a way to kind of not feel all that shame and that type of thing, and that, you know, that.
Yeah, we're very passionate about the next generation with it too. Like, all the other generations are a lost cause. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
They're our future,
But,
aren't they? The next generation is the
yeah.
future, and they're the ones that are going to be ruling the world one day.
Exactly. And all of the things that we've learned, we want to learn for them too.
Yeah.
And progress. We don't want them to have to experience our same mistakes or experience our same traumas. So, you know, we're just hoping to give them a bit of a head start.
So what's the next chapter for you two as a couple, and then for Love Over It as well?
For us as a couple,
Andrew's hoping it's Disney.
I'm really working on getting back to Disney. I didn't want to say it, but like, that's really where my heart is right now.
He's like, can we go to Disney?
It's so important we get back to Disney in the next 12 months.
I think they kind of go together a little bit. Like, this
is actually really much, this is a big part of our next chapter for both Love Over It and our relationship, because doing this has really, as you can imagine, is going to strengthen our relationship. But you said something pretty flattering things about me tonight. That's you know, get my what is it?
Your love
language going, and I'm spending
bucket
quality time with you. So that's bucket filling. So like, and we hope to do more and more of this kind of stuff. So that's one big thing for us, which ties into Love Over It, which is we plan to speak more together and in different formats.
Yeah, we've done a lot of cutting back this year. maybe not cutting back, but learning to say no, like learning to be intentional about what we're doing. We actually took a night like the first week of January this year and went to a hotel and planned our year. Like our word of the year is peace. We had like a verse I had a personal verse for the year of like what was important. We planned home improvements, our family life, our relationship, our career, our hobbies, our health, and we just made goals for each area of what we wanted to do. And because all of those need work, all of those are important. Financial, that's another one, very important. And
there's all kinds, spiritual, volunteer, there's all kinds of areas of life.
Right. So we became very intentional and limiting because, man, we're busy and the kids are getting busy. Like they're both in sports now. And so we didn't want to cut back, but we can't do everything. And one of the things that we were hoping to to fill our time with was something like this, and building opportunities to speak together, because it really does, like Andrew said, our buckets are filled. It's something we're both passionate about. We love like intentional and deep and honest conversation, like so. Yeah, I think that's what's next for us.
Awesome. So my last question for the night, I promise. What do you think the secret to your relationship is?
God.
I was gonna say, if she doesn't say God, then I'm just gonna be so done. It's God. So here's the thing, right? Like God is love, right? So we were pretty cool before. We've been Christians for 6 years, almost 7 years, and before that, like we were like things were kind of working out or whatever. Like we were kind of surviving, but then we turned that corner and we're like, man, this stuff here, like this Bible and what the stuff they're talking about at Sundays at church, like this is really speaking to us. And there's a framework for how a marriage should work. A marriage should be open and honest, and you should learn about each other, you should serve each other, and you should grow, like all these things. So then it allowed us to kind of grow in our relationship and also grow personally, and also like find a higher meaning and help us to get through tragedy we've gone through and all these things. So our decision to start following Jesus changed everything for both of us personally, and it actually brought us closer together. And without him in our relationship, man, I don't know how anybody does it.
I know, it's like we were trying to figure out marriage on our own.
It's wild.
And like make up the answers, and then we started applying him to it, and we're like, oh, we don't have to figure it out by ourselves. Yeah, it's already figured out. We just have to implement. And it's
so he just stays right in the center, right? Like God just stays right in the center of it. Like we invite him into all our situations, whether it be like I've had two of my siblings passed away last year, and we had to deal with that trauma, and we invite him into that, and just all kinds of things. Like we just go to him first, and it just strengthens our relationship. Without him, without like that teaching, that understanding of an eternal life, an eternal perspective, or a perspective of all the grace and like goodness that God's given us, like, oh my gosh, like without that perspective, it'd be so lost. I'd be on my own, making a lot of bad mistakes, just ruining this relationship for sure. And she'd be doing the same, I'm sure. And we'd just be constantly each other's way. But hey, as long as we've been attached to him, it's not been a walk in the park by any means. But my God, we don't drift too far from each other. That's for sure.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been so nice to have you here and to hear your story and your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Relationship Talks. If you can, I would love for you to jump on and leave a review. And whilst you are at it, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please join me again next week when we get to take a look behind closed doors at someone else's relationship. But until then, I am your host, Laurie Brooke, and remember the choice is yours, so make today and the week the very best it can be.